The courtroom buzzed with a symphony of whispers and the subtle rustle of papers, each sound amplifying the palpable tension in the air. Lawyers dressed in immaculate suits shuffled through their notes with precision, the rhythmic click of their polished shoes echoing off the marble floor. At the heart of it all, Judge Harris loomed high on his bench. His stern expression radiated authority, his sharp gaze sweeping over the room like a hawk surveying its prey. Judge Harris was renowned for his no-nonsense approach, his cutting remarks, and his unyielding presence, a man whose very demeanor demanded respect. Suddenly, the heavy doors groaned open, drawing the attention of everyone present. Heads turned, and a wave of curiosity swept through the crowd. Standing in the doorway was a teenager, his youthful frame starkly out of place amidst the seasoned professionals. Ethan, barely 17, clutched a weathered briefcase in his trembling hands. His oversized blazer, clearly borrowed and ill-fitting, hung awkwardly on his slender figure, emphasizing the stark contrast between him and the confident attorneys filling the room. He hesitated, his wide eyes scanning the intimidating space, absorbing every detail of the unfamiliar surroundings. With a deep, shaky breath, he willed himself to move forward, each step towards the defendant's table punctuated by the murmur of disbelief spreading through the crowd. Judge Harris arched an eyebrow, his lips curling into a mocking smirk. "And who might you be?" he asked, his tone dripping with condescension. "Lost on your way to the school debate club?" Laughter rippled through the courtroom like a wave, the sound stinging Ethan's ears. Yet, despite the humiliation, he stood firm. His hands may have trembled, but his voice emerged steady, unwavering. "I'm here to represent my mother, Your Honor." For a moment, the room was utterly silent, as if time itself had paused. Then came a surge of whispers, the incredulity thick in the air. A teenager representing someone in court? The sheer absurdity of it fueled the murmurs. Skepticism hung heavy, and the narrative of an underdog battling the odds began to take shape. The narrator's voice softened, drawing the audience into Ethan's story. Life had been cruel to him. His family's sudden eviction had torn them from their home, the result of a bitter legal dispute with a powerful and unrelenting landlord. Unable to afford a lawyer, Ethan made a choice that few would dare. He plunged headfirst into the world of law. Sleepless nights were spent poring over books, every page turned by a burning love for his mother and an unshakable resolve to seek justice. And now, against all odds, here he was, ready to fight for their future. As Ethan took his place at the defendant's table, his hands steadied, his resolve hardening under the weight of countless judgmental eyes. Across the room, the landlord's attorney, an older man with silver hair and an air of unshakable confidence, smirked, his disdain for Ethan thinly veiled. To him, the teenager was nothing more than a minor inconvenience, an obstacle easily swept aside. Judge Harris leaned forward, his glasses glinting under the fluorescent lights. "Mr. Daniels," he said sharply, a note of incredulity in his voice. "Are you seriously telling me that you think you can handle a case this complex without a single day of law school?" Chuckles rippled through the room once more, but Ethan remained unfazed. He met the judge's gaze head-on, his voice calm but firm. "Your Honor," he began, "the law permits anyone to represent themselves in court. I've spent months preparing for this moment, and I'm ready to proceed." A flicker of surprise crossed Judge Harris's face, so brief it was almost imperceptible, but he quickly regained his composure. "Very well," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Let's see what you've got." Ethan stepped into the spotlight, the weight of the room's scrutiny pressing down on him. Yet, with each word he spoke, his nerves began to dissipate. His arguments were clear, precise, and methodical. He painted a vivid timeline of events, walking the courtroom through every detail leading to his family's eviction. Statutes and precedents rolled off his tongue with the confidence of someone twice his age. At first, the crowd listened politely, their skepticism palpable. But as Ethan's narrative unfolded, something shifted. He began to connect that no one else had noticed, unraveling inconsistencies in the landlord's claims with meticulous precision. Heads started to nod in agreement. Even Judge Harris, initially skeptical, leaned back in his chair, his finger tapping thoughtfully against his chin. Then came the moment that left the courtroom reeling. Ethan presented a bombshell. A key document submitted by the landlord had been forged. Gasps filled the air, the collective shock reverberating through the room. The landlord's attorney, once smug and self-assured, stumbled over his words, his composure crumbling under the weight of Ethan's airtight arguments. Judge Harris, who had started the day amused and dismissive, now regarded Ethan with a newfound respect. The teenager had done the unthinkable. He had turned the tide, leaving everyone in the room awestruck and wondering what could possibly come next. Ethan's voice remained steady, a testament to his growing confidence, as he lifted a slightly worn document for everyone to see. "Your Honor," he began, his eyes locking firmly on Judge Harris, "this is the eviction notice that was used to force my family out of our home. But if you take a closer look, you'll find something deeply troubling." The room seemed to hold its collective breath as Ethan pointed to the signature at the bottom of the page. "This signature," he explained, his voice firm yet calm, "belongs to a notary who retired 2 full years before this document was supposedly signed." Gasps of shock rippled across the courtroom, the weight of Ethan's revelation sinking in. The opposing attorney, once brimming with smug confidence, now appeared visibly shaken. His pale complexion and frantic flipping through notes betrayed his inability to counter the claim. But Ethan wasn't finished. He reached into his meticulously organized briefcase, pulling out additional records he'd spent countless hours gathering. "Here is definitive proof," he continued, holding up the evidence with steady hands. "This document shows the official retirement date of the notary, alongside evidence that this eviction notice was fabricated. The landlord didn't just act unlawfully. They did so with clear intent to deceive this court and harm my family." Judge Harris leaned forward, the severity in his expression giving way to something resembling admiration. "These are serious allegations," he said, his tone careful and deliberate. "Let's see if you can back them up." What followed was nothing short of a masterclass. Judge Harris, known for his sharp questioning, began testing Ethan's knowledge with a barrage of questions. He challenged him on legal procedures, case precedents, and the finer points of the law. It was clear the judge wanted to see if Ethan's brilliance was genuine or merely a fluke. Ethan, however, didn't flinch. Every question was met with a confident, well-articulated response. He cited laws and court rulings with the poise of someone who had spent years practicing law rather than months studying it late into the night. The courtroom watched in stunned silence, their earlier skepticism melting into respect. When the rapid-fire questioning finally ceased, a profound stillness enveloped the room. Judge Harris removed his glasses, leaning back in his chair as he nodded slowly. "Impressive," he declared, his voice carrying a newfound respect. "Mr. Daniels, you may have a future in law after all." The courtroom was utterly silent as Judge Harris cleared his throat, his gaze shifting between Ethan and the landlord's attorney. After reviewing the evidence and hearing the arguments, he began, his voice steady and authoritative. "It is clear that the eviction was not only unjust, but based on fraudulent documentation. The court rules in favor of the defendant." A wave of murmurs swept through the room, quickly silenced as the judge continued. "The landlord is hereby ordered to compensate the Daniels family for damages, including the wrongful eviction and the emotional distress caused." For a moment, there was a stunned silence. Then, as the weight of the ruling sank in, the courtroom erupted into applause. The sound was overwhelming, a crescendo of emotion and admiration. Ethan's mother, seated at the table, buried her face in her trembling hands before pulling her son into a tearful embrace. "You did it," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. "You really did it." As the room began to clear, Judge Harris stepped down from the bench and approached Ethan. The sternness that had once defined his demeanor had softened, replaced by a warm, genuine smile. "Mr. Daniels," he said, extending his hand, "I owe you an apology. I underestimated you, and I was wrong to do so. You've shown remarkable intelligence, dedication, and a grasp of the law that many seasoned attorneys lack." Ethan, his face a mixture of pride and humility, shook the judge's hand. Judge Harris continued, "I believe you have a gift. If you're interested in pursuing a career in law, I would be honored to mentor you. The world needs people like you, people who fight for what's right." As Ethan and his mother stepped out of the towering courthouse, the weight of their victory began to settle in. For the first time in months, a sense of hope glimmered on the horizon. Ethan glanced back at the courthouse, its imposing structure now a symbol of possibility rather than intimidation. Silently, he made a vow. One day, he would return, not as a nervous teenager, but as a lawyer dedicated to justice.
Wow.
What a journey, right? Ethan's story is a powerful reminder of the strength that comes from perseverance, love, and the courage to stand up for what's right, even when the odds are stacked against you. If this story gave you chills or left you inspired, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your friends and family so they, too, can witness Ethan's incredible courage. And if you want more stories that touch hearts and ignite change, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below to share your thoughts about Ethan's story. What do you think about his bravery? How would you react in a situation like his? And if you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.